أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين. Brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. When we study the lives of our Imams, we notice that every Imam had a particular aim. And that aim was determined by the society that he was living in. It was determined by the environment that surrounded him, the Islamic atmosphere that he lived in. So, for example, when we look at the life of Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam, we find that his time wasn't the time for a battle. His time was time for a peace treaty. He thought of it very well, and he made this peace treaty, the time with Muawiyah. His son, his brother Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, however, had a completely different issue. The time when corruption was at very high, the people of Al-Madinah and the Islamic world were going through a very difficult time. People were very much ignorant and, of course, following the wrong direction. So Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam came in so that he can spread justice and amr bil ma'roof and nahy an munkar. So he had to go through a battle. So the environment and the society imposed on him so that his responsibility was that he had to go and fight the oppressors. As you go on, his son Imam al-Sajjad alayhi salam, you also find that Imam al-Sajjad, after the revolution of Karbala, Imam al-Sajjad had a very, very difficult task. His task was to reinstate the Islamic awareness in people's mind. His task was to reinstate confidence in people's hearts that al-A'immah are the right path that they must follow. So he did that with a dua. As you know, we have a Sahifa al-Sajjadiyya, etc. So he did that with a dua, and people were attracted to his dua. So the environment and the society again created this issue where he had to write ad'iyah, du'as, so that people will be attracted to this dua, and so like they can have further confidence about the right path, which is the path of Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. Now, if we come to Imam al-Sajjad's son, who is Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam, who we are celebrating his birth today, we find that his time after the death of his father, of course, by the way, not a lot of people know that Imam al-Baqir also witnessed the Battle of Karbala. He was only 4 years old. At his time, people were thirsty for knowledge, because notice that during Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam time, the oppression was very high. The oppressors, they did not let people gain knowledge. So therefore, people were much thirsty for knowledge. And the best person to actually spread this knowledge was, in fact, Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam. He is known as al-Baqir, which comes from the word Baqar in Arabic. Baqara al-batana fatahahu wa shaqqahu wa wassa'ah. That is what Baqar means. So if you Baqar a stomach, means you open it, you split it, and you expand it. Right? So if someone comes and says Baqar al-batan, means you open it, you split it, and you expand it. So Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam, he was known al-Baqir because he used to split open knowledge. Deep knowledge he used to go into, that scrutinized it and examined the depth of it so that it can be spread to all people truly and correctly. One of his ahadith, he says, إِنَّ قَلْبًا لَيْسَ فِيهِ شَيْءٌ مِنَ الْعِلْمِ كَالْبَيْتِ الْخَرَابِ. If a person's heart does not have any knowledge, so if a person does not have any knowledge, it is as if like you have an abandoned house or a house full of rubbish. Another hadith says, وَاللَّهِ لَمَوْتِ الْعَالِمِ أَحَبُّ إِلَىٰ إِبْلِيسِ مِنْ مَوْتِ سَبْعِينَ عَبْدًا. So he swears by Allah that the death of a scholar or an alim, of course here alim doesn't just mean the alim in a person who has deep Islamic knowledge. It also means person with knowledge, right? Al-alim ahabbu ila iblis. So the death of al-alim is greater for Iblis than the death of 70 people. So it is established now that Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam, at his time in the society that he lived, people were thirsty of knowledge, and there was also a very good opportunity for Imam al-Baqir to actually go and spread knowledge, because Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam lived in al-Madinah. The Umayyads, they were sort of fighting for leadership in Damascus, in Dimashq, in Syria. So they weren't very much, they didn't really give much attention to Imam al-Baqir and Medina. They thought that leave them for the time being. Let's continue our battle now for leadership in Damascus. So he had sort of more free time to actually spread the knowledge. So the first thing he did, one of the first things he did, is he established an Islamic university, the first Islamic university. And if anyone asks you what's the first Islamic university, it is of Imam al-Baqir, Jami'at Imam al-Baqir in Al-Madinah al-Munawwara. Right? And many scholars graduated from this university. One of them called Aban ibn Taghlab, who was with an Imam al-Baqir and then was with Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam, companions of both. And he actually wrote thousands of their ahadith. Aban ibn Taghlab. And also Muhammad ibn Muslim was Zurara ibn A'in, and he says, Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam says, لولا زرارة لظننت أحاديث أبي انتهت, because Zarara took the hadiths of Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam and passed it to Imam al-Sadiq. So he says, if Zarara wasn't there, then I wouldn't have got the ahadith of my father, Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam. So, again, Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam didn't, of course, just have this university, which was a big establishment, but he also went to the streets and tried to teach people everything he can, and teach the teachers as well. And this is a method. And also something very important that we also must learn from Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam, he used to make sure when he teaches these people, he used to tell them, make sure you get your information from the right sources. Right, that's very, very important. While I was doing some sort of research into this, I found one of the ahadiths that we Shi'as have, very, very nice hadith, that says Al-Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam created an elephant and he flew with that elephant. Right, that was one of the powers of Imam al-Baqir. He created this elephant. And not just he created an elephant, because you say he created an elephant, yeah, that's, it's not fine, but okay, he created an elephant. But no, also, elephant had wings, right? And it flew. And some of the extreme, shall we say, people, I won't say scholars, they do accept, I read about it, they do accept these ahadith. They say, yes, this could have been true about Imam al-Baqir. He had these powers. We'll talk about these people later. So he said, make sure you get your sources from the right people. And so, for example, tafsir of ayah 24 of Surah Abas says, فَلْيَنْظُرِ الْإِنسَانُ إِلَىٰ طَعَامِهِ. The basic translation of that says, so let the human see his food, right? But Imam al-Baqir says, the interpretation of this ayah says, فَلْيَنْظُرُ الْإِنسَانِ إِلَىٰ عِلْمِهِ الَّذِي يَأْخُذُهُ مِمَّنْ يَأْخُذَهُ. Right? So you make sure you see where you actually, طعامه is this ilm, is knowledge, طعام is ilm. Make sure you see where you actually get your knowledge from. Not just take any knowledge, because knowledge is everywhere. But do make sure you find that you take your knowledge from the correct places. That's something you should do. We'll give a lecture. Right. So we've talked about the societies of our Imam, and they acted upon what society needed from them, right? Let's fast forward 1,400 years until now, right? Of course, we don't have Imams. Of course, we have Imam al-Mahdi, Ajjalallahu Faraja. But again, if we always say this thing like that is our Imams, our role model, then surely we should follow our Imams. So the question is, what does society need from us now, right? For those of us who actually do care about society, the well-being of our ummah, the well-being of our community, the question is, what does our community need from us? What does our society need from us? What does the Islamic Ummah need from us now? And I think sometimes, this is quite maybe a basic question you may ask. A lot of people will have different answers. I will give you one of the answers, something that I truly believe now that's happening. And maybe if we have time later on, we can discuss this even more. So some people say, it's like Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam. It is the time for people to gain knowledge, right? We need to spread knowledge. Look at those people who are actually spreading false issues, false knowledge about our Imam, about the Quran, the wrong interpretations of the Quran. We need to come out, give talks, our youths, discussions, debates, etc. Some people say, no, let's just put that on hold. What we need to do is every single person needs to change himself or herself. Jihadun nafs, right? Just for the record, this is not jihad, as people might interpret from YouTube video. Not the jihad that, Jihadun nafs means, I don't want someone to knock on my door tonight and say, what you're saying. No, jihadun nafs is the jihadul akbar. And that is the one that you actually struggle within yourself. You have to change yourself. And so therefore some people say that yes, every single person must work on themselves, so that the society now requires every single person to actually change themselves. Others, they say other things. Others, they say it's the time now for unity, right? We're in desperate time for unity, some people say. We are very much divided as a ummah, right? And we are divided at two fronts. First of all, we are divided as Muslims, so we are divided as Sunnis and Shias. In addition, we are divided between the Shias, so we're not really united as Shias as well. Right? And some people may argue, say that you should first of all unite with your fellow Shias before you go and unite with the other Muslims. And some people say, no, I don't care about my fellow Shias. I'm going to go and unite. The time now is to go and unite with the Muslims, whether it being a Shia or a Sunni. Right? This is interesting. I tell you why. Because I believe that we live now at a very, very, very at a time where the world is trying to separate between the Sunnis and the Shias, right? We are witnessing this obviously witnessing this in Syria. You can see that very, very clearly. You can see that very clearly in Iraq now. You can see that very clearly in other countries such as Bahrain and Lebanon, etc. So, and there are people who are saying all sorts of conspiracy theories that there are different forces behind this, and some people say it's related to the Imam al-Mahdi and things like that, and people go on and on. But the fact remains that there is a struggle at the moment, as we speak now, in the world between the Shias and the Sunnis, whether we like it or not, right? And I've had enough, to be quite honest, of actually hiding from this. We don't come out and say, yes, there is a struggle. But what is our role? What is our role in this? What do we need to do? If we actually accept that there is a problem in the world, there is an issue here, that there are people who are trying to divide between the Shias and the Sunnis, is our role, as how was the Ummah's role, is our role to work on this front, to unite the Ummah? Or is it no, that this is a mission impossible, that we can't really do this because of the very big differences between the two? And this is costing people's lives these days. It cost thousands of people's lives in Iraq in 2005. People were beheaded because they were called Ali or called Umar or whatever, right? Because of their identity, right? And I tell you from now, it is heating up in Iraq, right? The Muslims in Al-Anbar are getting funding from the countries, Qatar and Saudi Arabia, etc., to start again a sectarian war in Iraq, much more lethal than the one in 2005, 2006, right? It's already started in Syria. Lebanon now is very much involved. So I'm not going to talk politics here, but what I'm trying to tell you is that in my opinion, the society we live in now is very much disunited, right? The society requires us all to actually do something about this issue that's going on all around the world. This issue of sectarian drift, this issue where people are trying to divide between the Shias and the Sunnis. And of course there are the takfiris, who we will talk about in a bit as well. So there is very interesting hadith from Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam that says أنه قال آل محمد عليهم السلام صلوا على محمد وآل محمد آل محمد عليهم السلام هم حبل الله الذي أمرنا بالاعتصام به فقال واعتصموا بحبل الله جميعا ولا تفرقوا. Now, he says that he's answering the question of who is Hablullah in the following ayah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim in chapter 3, ayah 103. واعتصموا بحبل الله جميعا ولا تفرقوا واذكروا نعمة الله عليكم إذ كنتم أعداء فألف بين قلوبكم فأصبحتم بنعمته إخوانا وكنتم على شفا حفرة من النار فأنقذكم منها كذلك يبين الله لكم آياته لعلكم تهتدون. So he says, and hold fast all together to Allah's cord and do not be divided. So Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam is saying that here Allah's cord is actually Alu Muhammad. So the question is, what is he actually saying, that we must unite as Shias, right? Because people, when they talk about unity, they talk about the Muslim unity, the Sunnis and the Shia unity. But what we're saying here is should we actually focus on the Shia unity first before we go into the Sunni Shia unity? And this is where my opinion comes in. I believe, yes, I believe that we have a big problem in the Shia community, worldwide I'm talking, right? Is that we are very much disunited. We have the Khojis on one side, right? We have the Iraqis on the other, we have the Iranians on the other side, we have the Lebanese on the other side. Of course, وَجَعَلْنَاكُمْ شُعُوبًا وَقَبَائِلَ لِتَعَارَفُوا, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, yes, He says, I've created you with different tribes, right? but also not so that you guys could be divided and each tribe will be by themselves. No, لِتَعَارَفُوا, so you can get to know each other, right? And this is not happening. And I think to actually go and help out in this and trying to cause less of this tension between the Sunnis and the Shias, I believe that we have to actually unite as the Shias. And I believe that society now requires us all to actually work on this. Remember, going back to the initial point, that what does the society need us to do? What is required from us now? And I truly believe that we must all work to try to bring the Shias together before we can actually go and unite with the other Muslims. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says here, وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا. The meanings of Allah's cord, and some interpreters say that it is the Quran, Allah's cord. Some say it is Al-Islam, and some say it's Ahlul Bayt, as like this hadith, which I don't know the exact if this is a reliable hadith, but it's narrated from Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam that he says that Hablullah are Ali Muhammad alayhim salam. Now, of course, there's no contradiction between these three meanings: Quran, Ahlul Bayt, and Al-Islam. And of course, we can accept all three. But there is an interesting thing about this ayah that says, وَاذْكُرُوا نِعْمَةَ اللَّهِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving us a warning. He says, وَاذْكُرُوا نِعْمَةَ اللَّهِ عَلَيْكُمْ إِذْ كُنْتُمْ أَعْدَاءً فَأَلَّفَ بَيْنَ قُلُوبِكُمْ. And remember the favor on you when you were enemies, then He united your hearts, so by His favor you became brethren, right? So He's giving us a warning that this has happened before, where you were very much split, right? But I brought you together. And also, how did He bring us together? By His blessing of unity, brotherhood, and friendship. And He says, وَكُنْتُمْ عَلَى شَفَا حُفْرَةٍ مِّنَ النَّارِ فَأَنْقَذَكُم مِّنْهَا. Extremely powerful. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala here is describing that if you are not united, then you are at the verge, at the brink of a pit of fire, right? If you are not united. And He's saying that وَكُنْتُمْ عَلَى شَفَا حُفْرَةٍ, you were at a brink of a pit of a fire, but then I saved you. So He's saying that if you are not united, then of course you will also get to this brink of a pit of fire, and then it will be too late. So these are all warning messages, and I think you know the issue of unity is very much in our minds. But I think I have 5 minutes, right? How much time do I have? 5 minutes, yeah. So I think the issue just I want to end with is when we talk about Shia unity, right? Where do you stand? Because I believe we have like a whole spectrum, right? And we have two sort of fanatics on either side, right? You have one side that doesn't really believe in the existence of Imam al-Mahdi, doesn't believe that Imam Mahdi will reappear, dismisses all ahadith, completely all ahadith, dismisses the interpreters of the Quran, tafasir al-Quran, the exegetes, and doesn't really, only interprets the Quran by themselves, right? You have that end. And you have the other end who are extremely, on the other side, which say that, they believe in these hadith that are not very well backed, are not very legitimate. And they also do a lot of cursing of Sahaba, Umar, Abu Bakr, etc., Aisha, etc. And they go by their own way. They, of course, curse some of the Shia ulama as well, not just the Sunni ulama. And more importantly, they give an incentive for those suicide bombers to actually go and kill themselves, because the suicide bombers, I know in Iraq very well, that they come and show them these videos and they tell them, look, these are the Shias that we want you to go and kill. Look at them, he's cursing Abu Bakr, he's cursing Umar. How can we let this thing happen? We must eradicate all Shias. So he gives them an incentive and he goes and kills them. Kills children, women, men in the markets, etc., which is happening nearly at a daily basis in Iraq. So where do we stand? Right? And as I said, I look at this in a spectrum. How are we going to come and unite with each other? Do we ignore these two outliers, shall I say? Or do we bring everyone together in the name of unity? I believe no, we must ignore them. Why? Because the Quran says you must ignore them. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم كذلك جعلناكم أمة وسطا لتكونوا شهداء على الناس ويكون الرسول عليكم شهيدا. In Surah Al-Baqarah, ayah 143, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and thus we have made you a medium, just nation, that you may be the bearers of witness to the people, and the messenger may be a bearer of witness to you. So therefore, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I want you to become the middle ummah. وَجَعَلْنَاكُمْ أُمَّةً وَسَطًا. Right? So that if you stand in the middle, you can easily distinguish between just and unjust. Good and bad, right and wrong. Justice and injustice. Right? If you stand in the middle, you can have a very good view of what's happening. But if you go into one particular extreme, right, you are restricting, of course, yourself to that mentality. So therefore, yes, I believe that we must ignore the two ends. But the question now is, in the last 2 minutes, I like to discuss, is how do we come close? How do we actually establish this unity? And of course, it's very, very difficult. And I'm not going to talk about the in terms of the Islamic Ummah, because that's too big of a project. But if we talk about the United Kingdom, we have, mashallah, a lot of the Shias, right? How can we actually bring the Shias together? How can we bring the Khojas talking to the Iraqis? How can we bring the Iranians talking to the Khojas and the Iraqis? How can we bring even between the different even between the Shias, you have the Shias of Stammo, you have the Shias of Mahfil Ali, you have the Shias of Leicester and wherever, and even in Iraqis you have Dar al-Islam and Al-Khou'i and Rasul al-A'zam, and it seems like we are completely different tribes and completely different. We are as if we are enemies, right? I don't want to make it as miserable as it is, right? But it is quite bad, I believe, right? So therefore, I think starting from this center, and I do believe in this center, and I believe in its ambitions, right? And I know this center has probably it has tried a lot to bring the communities together. I mean, this center, you do see a lot of people from other different backgrounds, Iraqis, Iranian, etc. But I still believe that there is more work to be done. I think that if we all are going to come together to try to actually combat, and I do believe in combating, not physical, but actually combating this extremist thinking from our people, from the Shia people, and of course from the Takfiris, we must all come together. And the way to come together is to actually maybe do a community events. It will probably start very, very slow, but then again, I do believe that it will pick up. And I don't think that there has been a lot of attempts in doing that. So for example, if we do a one big community event in Muharram, for example, or one big community event or events in Ramadan where a lot of people do get out, I think that sort of gives you, at least it gives you the sense of unity. But when I come to, in Shahr Ramadan, of course, mashallah, we have a lot of centers to go and eat. But it would be really nice if we sort of have a joint. I know this place does it in 1 or 2 nights, but it would be really good. As I said, maybe I'm actually preaching to the converted, but I hope the YouTube video will go to more people. But the issue is that, I hope that that there will be things like in Shahr Ramadan, where we have joint iftars, for example, where people who, yes, we all speak English. You don't have to speak Iraqi and sit down and always speak Persian and things like that. You all come and sit down and unite under the umbrella of Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. And with that, I have to end because of Salah. And I like to just end actually with one very beautiful hadith from Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam. He says, our followers are of 3 kinds. One who follows us but depends on others. It's quite deep, this actually. Needs explanation. One who follows us but depends on others. One who is like a glass involved in his own reflections. But the best, this is very interesting, but the best are those who are like gold. The more they suffer, the more they shine. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.